The ultimatum. The void between stars was never truly silent. Captain Elena Torres knew this better than most as she stood on the bridge of the TSS Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship. The gentle hum of the quantum drives, the soft peeps of sensor arrays, and the quiet breathing of her crew created a symphony that had become more familiar to her than Earth's oceans. Status report, Elena commanded, her voice calm despite the gravity of their mission. Lieutenant Commander Jackson looked up from his console. We've crossed into Craxian space, Captain. Stealth systems operating at optimal capacity. They don't know we're here. Yet, Elena added, her dark eyes fixed on the view screen. The Craxian homeworld glowed a pale green in the distance, surrounded by a defensive net of battleships and automated weapons platforms. They will soon enough. The Defiance was humanity's finest creation, a vessel that embodied everything humans had achieved since taking to the stars. Sleek, powerful, and incorporating technology that even their allies had difficulty understanding. But Elena hadn't brought it here to showcase human engineering. She'd come with purpose, with determination, with rage carefully contained behind a commander's discipline. 3 months ago, the Craxian Empire had crossed a line. A human colony on Proxima Centauri IV. Peaceful scientists and their families had vanished overnight. Official channels claimed ignorance. The Galactic Council expressed concern but took no action. Only a single distress signal, cut short but undeniably pointing to Craxian involvement, gave humanity the lead they needed. Elena had been tasked with a simple mission: bring our people home. Captain, Communications Officer Rice called out, "We're being hailed." Automated warning beacon from the Craxian Defense Network. "Ignore it," Elena replied. "Continue on course for the capital orbital station." The bridge fell silent as the massive ship pushed forward. Elite officers who had trained their whole lives for missions like this one executed their duties with precision. They all knew what was at stake, not just the lives of the missing colonists but humanity's standing in the galaxy. For too long, other species had viewed humans as newcomers, lucky technologists who had stumbled upon advanced propulsion just decades ago. They were tolerated, sometimes even respected, but never feared, never taken seriously as a power. The Craxians were about to learn differently. "We're being targeted," Tactical Officer Chen announced calmly. "Multiple Craxian cruisers moving to intercept. Energy signatures indicate weapons charging." Elena nodded. "Maintain course. No evasive maneuvers." "Captain," Chen questioned, a rare breach of protocol that spoke to the unusual nature of their approach. "They won't fire, Lieutenant," Elena said with certainty. "Not when they realize what we are." The Defiance continued its deliberate course, slicing through space toward the heart of the Craxian Defense Network. 3 massive battlecruisers moved to form a blockade, their angular hulls bristling with weapons. "We're being hailed again," Rise announced. "This time it's direct from Craxian High Command." Elena straightened her uniform jacket. On screen, the view screen flickered, revealing the stern face of a Craxian military commander. 4 eyes blinked independently across a ridge of bone that framed a face resembling a cross between a reptile and an insect. Admiral Vorketh's chitinous mandibles clicked in agitation. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered sovereign Craxian space," the Admiral's translator conveyed. "Identify yourself immediately or face immediate destruction." Elena stepped forward, her posture relaxed but commanding. "This is Captain Elena Torres of the Terran spaceship Defiance. And you already know why we're here." The Craxian's multiple eyes widened, the equivalent of a human gasped. "A human warship, this far into Imperial territory. Impossible." "Evidently not," Elena replied coolly. "You have something that belongs to us, Admiral. 147 human colonists from Proxima Centauri IV. We want them back." The Admiral's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "I don't know what you're talking about. This incursion is a violation of the Galactic Treaty. Your presence here is an act of war." "Interesting choice of words," Admiral, Elena said, because abducting peaceful colonists was certainly an act of war from our perspective. Behind her, the bridge crew worked silently, their hands moving over holographic controls as they monitored the growing number of Craxian vessels surrounding them. 20 ships now, some larger than the Defiance, all with weapons aimed directly at them. You have no proof of these wild accusations, Vorketh hissed, and you have no authority here. One small ship against the might of the Craxian Empire. Your arrogance will be your undoing. Elena smiled, not the warm expression humans shared among friends, but the cold, predatory smile of an apex hunter. Let me be clear, Admiral. We know the colonists are being held at your research facility on Craxia II. We know they're being subjected to experiments to understand how humans adapted so quickly to interstellar travel. And we know your scientists are particularly interested in our neural interfaces. The Admiral's reaction, a subtle shift in posture, a momentary silence, confirmed everything. You have 1 hour to release all human prisoners and return them to my ship, unharmed, Elena continued. Failure to do so will result in consequences your empire is not prepared to face. Vorketh laughed, the sound harsh and clicking through the translator. You threaten us with 1 ship. Perhaps humans are more delusional than we realized. Elena's expression didn't change. 1 hour, Admiral. And I should mention, the Defiance isn't alone. She nodded to Reyes, who terminated the communication. They're scrambling additional ships, Chen reported immediately. Sensor readings indicate they're activating planetary defense systems as well. As expected, Elena replied. Deploy sensor buoys. I want full coverage of their fleet movements. Captain, Jackson interjected, the Craxians outnumber us at least 30 to 1, even counting our support vessels. If they decide to attack. They won't, Elena interrupted. Not after we show them what we're capable of. The Craxians, like most of the galaxy, have underestimated humanity from the beginning. They see our diplomatic overtures as weakness, our technological advancements as luck. She walked to the tactical display, where a holographic representation of the Craxian fleet glowed in red contrast to the single blue dot representing the Defiance. What they don't understand is that humans have been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars. We've been fighting wars against ourselves for millennia. We know conflict like they know breathing. In the silence that followed, the crew exchanged glances. They knew their captain's reputation, a strategic genius who had risen through the ranks faster than anyone in the history of the Terran Space Command. If anyone could pull off this mission, it was Elena Torres. 45 minutes remaining in our ultimatum, the ship's AI announced. Elena returned to her command chair. Prepare the demonstration package. If they want to know what 1 human ship can do, let's show them. On the Craxian flagship, Admiral Vorketh paced the command deck, his exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor with each agitated step. What do we know about this vessel? He demanded of his intelligence officer. Very little, Admiral. The officer replied, mandibles twitching nervously. The humans have kept their military advancements classified. Our intelligence suggests they possess nothing that could threaten even one of our cruisers, let alone the assembled fleet. Then why? Vorketh hissed. Why come here with 1 ship and make demands they cannot enforce? It defies logic. Perhaps they are truly desperate, his second-in-command suggested. The loss of their colonists has driven them to irrational action. The Admiral wasn't convinced. In his long military career, he had encountered many species, studied countless battle strategies. This felt wrong. The humans were known for their adaptability, their resourcefulness. They wouldn't launch a suicide mission. Initiate deep scans of the region, he ordered suddenly. Check for any anomalies, any signs of cloaked vessels. Admiral, the weapons officer interrupted. The human ship is doing something. On the main view screen, the Defiance's sleek hull began to transform. Panels shifted, revealing weapon systems that had been completely hidden from scans. A soft blue glow emanated from various points along the hull, intensifying steadily. "What are they?" the Admiral began, but never finished his question. A pulse of energy, invisible, silent, expanded outward from the human vessel. As it passed through the Craxian ships, systems failed. Weapons went offline. Communications died. Artificial gravity fluctuated. And then, just as suddenly, everything returned to normal. "Damage report," Vorketh demanded. "No damage, Admiral," his officer responded, confusion evident. "It appears to have been a demonstration." The communications console chimed. "The human captain is hailing us again." Vorketh hesitated only briefly. On screen, Elena Torres appeared, as calm as before. That was a targeted electromagnetic pulse. "Admiral, specifically calibrated for Craxian technology. As you just experienced, we can disable your ships without destroying them." That was at 10% power. She leaned forward slightly. "The next one won't be a demonstration. 30 minutes remain." The screen went dark. Vorketh turned to his intelligence officer. "Contact the research facility. Tell them to prepare the humans for transfer." "But Admiral, the High Council has invested significant resources in studying the humans. They won't approve." "The High Council isn't here." Vorketh snapped. "Something is wrong. That ship shouldn't be able to do what it just did." And Captain Torres was too confident. He stared at the view screen, where the human vessel waited, surrounded by his fleet, yet somehow appearing not as prey but as a predator. "Contact the research facility," he repeated quietly, "and initiate emergency protocols. I want every available ship mobilized." On the Defiance, Elena received the news with a single nod. "They're moving the colonists, Captain," Intelligence Officer Nakamura reported. "Our infiltration team confirms transport vessels being prepared at the research facility." "They're not surrendering," Elena noted. "They're relocating the prisoners." "Standard operating procedure," Jackson added. "They'll try to hide them somewhere we can't find them, then deny everything." Elena's expression hardened. "Deploy the stealth drones. I want eyes on every transport vessel that leaves that facility." "Yes, Captain," Chen acknowledged, sending the command. Elena stood up, facing her crew. "We knew this would be their response. Now we move to Phase 2. She tapped her neural interface, connecting directly to the ship's tactical systems. "The Craxians believe they understand human capability. They're about to learn how wrong they are." As the Defiance held position, surrounded by the might of the Craxian fleet, invisible drones scattered across the system, tracking, monitoring, preparing. The true nature of humanity's response was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never view them the same way again. Defiance and resolution. The 20-minute mark of Elena's ultimatum passed in tense silence. On the Defiance's bridge, tactical displays showed Craxian transport vessels departing the research facility on Craxia II, moving in different directions like seeds scattered by wind. "They're splitting up the colonists," Lieutenant Commander Jackson observed. 6 separate transports, each with a military escort. Elena nodded, unsurprised. "Classic shell game. They think if they can disperse the prisoners, we'll be forced to choose which ones to pursue." "Captain," Communications Officer Rice interjected, "Admiral Vorketh is hailing us again." On screen, Elena responded, straightening her posture. The Craxian Admiral appeared, his composure noticeably more rigid than before. The subtle twitching of his mandibles betrayed his agitation. "Captain Torres," he began, "I have consulted with the High Council. There appears to have been a misunderstanding. We did temporarily detain some humans who violated our territory, but this was merely a standard security procedure." Elena's expression remained neutral. "And these detained humans, they are being released now?" "Yes," Vorketh confirmed. "They are being transported to neutral territory as we speak, where your government can arrange their retrieval." "That's not what I demanded." "Admiral," Alina replied coldly. I said they were to be returned to my ship, directly. Vorkath's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of frustration. That is impossible given the current circumstances. The prisoners, the detainees, are already en route to the designated locations. Alina glanced at her tactical officer, who gave a subtle nod. All transport vessels were being tracked by their stealth drones. Very well, Admiral, she said, surprising the Craxian. We will await confirmation that our people have arrived safely at these neutral locations. Before Vorkath could respond, Alina continued. However, as a precaution, the Defiance will remain in Craxian space until all colonists are accounted for. Unacceptable, the Admiral barked. Your presence here is a violation of. Careful, Admiral, Alina interrupted. Your empire started this when you abducted our people. Consider yourselves fortunate that we're pursuing a diplomatic solution. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in momentary silence. They're stalling, Intelligence Officer Nakamura noted. The transports aren't heading toward neutral territory. 2 are circling back toward the Craxian military base on the 4th moon. The others are heading for deep space coordinates. Alina's eyes hardened. They never intended to release them. She activated her neural interface again, connecting to the ship's eye. Activate Phantom Protocol. Throughout the Defiance, hidden systems came online. In the void of space surrounding them, imperceptible distortions rippled outward as dormant technologies awoke. Phantom Protocol active. Captain. The AI confirmed. Ghost Fleet standing by. She walked to the tactical display. What they don't grasp is that peace was a choice. We could have come to the stars as conquerors. Instead, we chose diplomacy. We chose cooperation. With a gesture, she expanded the tactical display, revealing what had been invisible moments before. 7 advanced human vessels, each smaller than the Defiance, but no less lethal, positioned strategically throughout the Craxian system. But we never forgot how to fight. The crew stared at the display in awe. The Ghost Fleet, rumored but never confirmed, a black project so classified that most of the Terran Space Command believed it was merely a theoretical exercise. Deploy the fleet, Alina ordered. Target all transport vessels. Authorization code. Taurus Alpha 71. Across the system, the Ghost Fleet ships shimmered into visibility. Sleek, agile vessels with hull configurations that defied conventional design philosophy. Their sudden appearance sent the Craxian fleet into chaos. Admiral Vorkath stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. Where did they come from? They were already here, Admiral. His sensor officer replied, mandibles trembling. Our scanners, they couldn't detect them. All ships, battle stations, Vorkath commanded. Target the human vessels. But it was too late. The Ghost Fleet moved with astonishing speed, each ship intercepting a Craxian transport vessel with surgical precision. No weapons were fired. They didn't need to be. Targeted electromagnetic pulses, similar to the demonstration the Defiance had performed, but focused with pinpoint accuracy, disabled the transport's engines while leaving life support systems intact. Within minutes, all 6 transport vessels hung motionless in space, their military escorts equally paralyzed. On the Defiance's bridge, Alina received confirmation from her fleet captains. All transports disabled, Captain, Chen reported. Boarding teams are away. Minimal resistance expected given the EMP effects. Alina nodded. Time to end this charade. She opened a channel to the Craxian flagship. Admiral Vorkath's image appeared, his exoskeleton now visibly trembling with rage or fear, perhaps both. Your deception ends now, Admiral, Alina stated flatly. Our boarding teams are retrieving our people. Any attempt to interfere will be met with the full measure of our capabilities. This is an act of war, Vorkath sputtered. No, Admiral, Alina corrected him. This is a rescue operation. War would look very different. To emphasize her point, she nodded to Tactical Officer Chen, who activated a secondary system. Throughout the Craxian system, hundreds of small objects, previously dormant and undetectable, activated simultaneously. Quantum resonance mines, positioned weeks ago by automated stealth drones, now revealed themselves on Craxian scanners. Vorketh's expression shifted from anger to horror. The mines were positioned near every major Craxian installation, every defense platform, every strategic asset in the system. "We could have destroyed your infrastructure before you even knew we were here," Elena continued. "We chose not to. Remember that when you report to your High Council." As the Admiral struggled to find a response, Elena received a message through her neural interface. "Captain," she said, allowing a hint of satisfaction to color her voice, "our boarding teams have secured all colonists. 143 survivors." The number hung in the air, 4 shy of the original count. "What happened to the others?" Elena demanded, her voice dangerously quiet. Vorketh's posture deflated slightly. "Research subjects occasionally. Expire during testing procedures." The temperature on the Defiance's bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Elena's expression didn't change, but her eyes burned with a cold fury that made several of her officers instinctively step back. "Admiral," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I want the names of every scientist, every official, every guard who participated in the experimentation on our people." "That is classified information," Vorketh responded, but his voice lacked conviction. Elena leaned forward. "Let me be absolutely clear. The only reason your system isn't experiencing catastrophic infrastructure failure right now is because I am choosing restraint. The names." Now, 20 minutes later, the rescued colonists were being treated in the Defiance's medical bay. Many were malnourished, all showed signs of trauma, but they were alive. They would recover, both physically and, with time, psychologically. Elena stood in the observation room, watching as her medical team worked. Commander Jackson joined her, offering a data tablet. "The information from the Craxians," he said quietly. "All personnel involved in the experimentation program, as requested." Elena took the tablet, scanning the list of names. "Verify it against the testimony of the survivors, once they're stable enough to speak." "Yes, Captain." Jackson hesitated. "What will happen to them?" "The Craxians who were responsible." Elena's expression was unreadable. "That will be determined by proper authorities. But I've made it clear to the Admiral that if justice isn't served through official channels, there are alternatives." The implied threat wasn't lost on Jackson. The Ghost Fleet had demonstrated capabilities that would give any power in the galaxy pause. "The quantum mines?" he asked. "Being deactivated as we speak," Elena confirmed. "We've made our point." She turned away from the medical bay, her mission complete but her thoughts troubled. "The galaxy is changing, Commander. For too long, humanity has been viewed as just another species finding its way among the stars. Today, that perception was corrected." "You think they'll fear us now?" Jackson observed. "Fear isn't the goal," Elena replied. "Respect is. Understanding that humanity will not tolerate aggression against its people. That while we prefer peace, we are very, very capable of war." She looked back at the survivors. "And that we always come for our own." As the Defiance prepared to depart Craxian space, escorted by the now visible Ghost Fleet, messages flashed across the galactic communication networks. Reports of the incident, carefully controlled by both human and Craxian authorities, nevertheless spread rapidly. In council chambers across the galaxy, representatives of various species discussed the implications. The humans, it seemed, had been holding back. Their technology was more advanced than anyone had suspected. Their military capabilities, hidden beneath a veneer of diplomatic focus, were formidable. 2 weeks later, Elena stood before the Terran Defense Council, her formal report delivered and acknowledged. "The Craxian High Council has issued a formal apology," Admiral Chen announced. "They've agreed to substantial reparations for the families of the deceased colonists and have publicly executed 2 high-ranking officials deemed responsible for the operation." Elena nodded. It wasn't enough. Nothing could bring back the four who had died. But it was a start. More importantly, the Admiral continued, they'd proposed a comprehensive treaty that would formalize relations between our peoples and establish clear protocols for territorial disputes. They're afraid, another council member observed. They're respectful, Alina corrected. For the first time, they see us as equals. Perhaps even as superiors in some regards. Admiral Chen leaned forward. The question now is how we proceed. The Ghost Fleet's existence is no longer a secret. Every species in the galaxy is reassessing their understanding of human capabilities. Alina met his gaze steadily. We proceed as we always have, with diplomacy first, force only when necessary. The difference is they now know the force exists. And if another species tests us, a council member asked. Alina's expression was resolute. Then we remind them, just as we reminded the Craxians, that humanity extends peace from a position of strength, not weakness. As she left the council chambers, Alina's thoughts turned to the stars. Humanity had crossed a threshold. Their place in the galactic community had fundamentally changed. Some would call it a loss of innocence, but Alina knew better. It wasn't innocence they had lost, but naivety. And in its place, they had gained something far more valuable: respect. Across the vastness of space, in the heart of the Craxian Empire, Admiral Vorketh stood before his own council, his career in tatters but his mind clear. We made a grave error, he told them. Not in capturing the humans, though that was foolish, but in our fundamental understanding of their species. He activated a holographic display, showing the Defiance and its Ghost Fleet. We saw their diplomatic nature as weakness, their collaborative approach as lack of strength. We were wrong. The humans have been watching, learning, preparing. They've been at war with themselves for millennia, perfecting the art of conflict while we grew complacent. He looked each council member in the eyes. Make no mistake, the humans could have destroyed us had they wished. Instead, they showed restraint. Remember that when you deal with them in the future. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. The galaxy had changed. The humans had made sure of it. And as the stars continued their eternal dance, a new understanding spread throughout the civilizations scattered among them.